Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back with another weekly update, and I have to tell you, this weather is really making me feel like I need to plant some things. So let's take a walk through and see how things are doing and kind of discuss a few of the changes that have been made. Alright, like we normally do, we're going to start off with these 3 raised beds that I normally call the tomato patch. Obviously, there's no tomatoes planted in them yet, but there will be soon. Something that is different from last week is I came through and I planted several different types of radishes. I will try to insert a picture here. So you can kind of see here where they have germinated pretty well all the way down this bed. So that's gonna kind of delay planting tomatoes in here a little bit, but these grow really quickly. So within a few weeks they'll be out and tomatoes can go in. Right, so that's the back bed that's closest to the house. The tomatoes that are gonna go along here after those radishes come out, those are going to be any of the larger type tomatoes. I don't believe I'm planting any beefsteaks in my garden this year, so back here will be paste and slicer, and then along the front here will be hot peppers, jalapeno, serrano, cayenne. I'll have to look through and see what I have and kind of figure out exactly where things are going to go, because I'm doing the pepper experiment with the green stalk there, so just kind of have to split it up depending upon numbers of each of the plants. Now this middle bed, let me walk over here. This middle bed also has some radishes. Let me try to zoom in so you can kind of see. So we have radishes down a little over half of this bed. There's only 2 types planted in here, so obviously it's not going to take up the whole bed. Again, the idea is once these mature, pull them out and then get tomatoes planted in. The tomatoes that are going to go here are going to be a continuation of slicers, and then if I have any remaining cherry tomatoes from this front bed that didn't fit all the way in. And then this front row here, along here, will be hot peppers. Now down the middles of these 2 beds currently have onions. These are the 1015 Texas sweet onions, and then those are sweet red onions there. As those come out, then we will see kind of where we're at in the heat of the season to determine what can go in the middles of those. But between the tomatoes and peppers, there will be companion plants like basil, marigolds, bush beans, eventually cowpeas, volunteer tomatoes that sprouted there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those up because I don't want them there. And calendula, we have some dill that I actually think is gonna go over there where the trellis is going. But we have lots of companion plants that are gonna go in between the tomatoes and peppers in these beds. So these are going to be pretty densely planted. Now this messy bed here, as you can see, I did remove the collard greens out of it. They had all started to bolt, so at that point they were going to be too bitter to be enjoyable even after cooking. So I just went ahead and I cut them down. Now the idea, or the plan, is this weekend to get some compost to fill these beds a bit more. You can see they're a little bit low. They kind of settle over time. Plants, take what they need from them, and that causes some soil depletion and soil loss. So we're gonna put some compost on the top here. All of these stems and roots will break down and contribute to soil health over time. And cherry tomatoes along the backs there, that's only 1 bed. Cherry tomatoes along the back here, and then the front of this one will be tomatillos and eggplant. The middle, I am going to grow a cucumber that is like a bush variety. It's called pickle bush. That's gonna go right here where this ugly plant is. So this was a collard greens, I believe. And as you can see, the stem had hollowed out and kind of rotted in the middle. So I'm glad that I cut that down. I don't think it had any insect damage or anything. I didn't see any caterpillars or any of that stuff. I think it was just so big and huge, it just kind of reached its mature point and just started breaking down on its own. I did remove the dino kale out of here. It was just entirely too frost damaged to have anything to use from it. The rest of these kale I do need to cut down, and I'm going to go ahead and turn them all into kale chips at this point. The temperatures are getting warmer, so it's getting a little bit bitter. Not really usable in other forms that we like to eat it. So kale chips is my plan for this. I'll probably cut it down this weekend and get that done. So a lot of work to be done with these beds in the very near future, but it's all fun, good work that will provide future food. So definitely nothing to stress out about. All right, over here, not much has been done. There was some cleanup that was done. The trash was picked up on Wednesday, so that gave me some room to throw away some of the dead and icky plants. I do still need to pull the rutabagas out of here, and then once that trellis comes that goes in between those two beds, it's gonna be rock and roll time. We're gonna have to pull the soil out of here, disassemble it of sorts, make the bed deeper, and then fill it back up, or attach the trellis to the other bed, fill it back up, top it off with compost, and then we can plant. So the front is going to be sweet peppers, just like last year. The back is going to be okra, just like last year. You can see where I had really big okra plants, more like okra trees, judging by those stems that are left behind. And then in the middle, because it will be substantially deeper, there will be bush varieties of squash and dwarf varieties of okra, and then of course all of the different companion plants that complement everything on the trellis that's going to go in between these two. There will be cucumbers and melons, Malabar spinach. I also have some noodle beans and some butterfly pea flower vines. So the trellises are going to be quite full, but they'll be really pretty whenever they're full and leafy and things are growing and stuff. This bed is going to follow the same format as that one. Sweet peppers in the front, tall okra in the back, bush squash, a bush variety of squash, and then the dwarf, I think it's Bubba is what it's called, okra is gonna go, and then all of the different companion plants, bush beans, eventually cowpeas, marigolds, basil, nasturtium, dill will be planted along the trellis edges to complement the cucumbers and help attract pollinators. But again, a lot of work to be done within the raised bed spaces. So really exciting, ready to get cracking on that. Like I said, this weather really has me wanting to plant my whole garden. So I've got to focus on getting the amending done so that I can do that. All right, the greenhouse. So the other 10-gallon planter is actually up on the patio. I need to move it down here, and that one has a big tear at the bottom. This is just a 5-gallon. So let me walk over here. It has a big tear in it that you can see here. So I'm just gonna throw this whole thing away. I will of course save the soil out of it because there's nothing wrong with the soil. I'll just add it to the raised beds there. Throw this 5-gallon planter away. Get the other 10-gallon planter that's right there next to the strawberries. Put that here. And I think what I have decided to do is actually a bit of an experiment. Somebody sent me some seeds for a variety of corn. I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't remember, but it's kind of pinkish, and I thought it would be really cute to try to grow it here in front of the greenhouse. I have attempted to grow corn before in 5-gallon buckets. Didn't go as great as I wanted it to. Hopefully in the 10-gallon grow bags it goes a little bit better. So both of those will be the corn. I think it might be a dwarf variety, so kind of shorter than the typical corn, but I'll put the name of it up here since I can't remember it off the top of my head. And then garlic, of course, and a doggo doing doggo things. Hello, doggo. The garlic, of course, is looking really well. You can see where it's getting to be pretty decently sized. Some of these are hardneck varieties, so as the temperatures get warmer and we continue to progress into spring, the hardneck varieties will put off what's called garlic scapes, and they kind of come up and curl, and you can stir fry those or pickle them, ferment them. They're pretty versatile. They're edible, of course. So those will start to form whenever the garlic is getting close to being ready to harvest. If you want your cloves to get a bit bigger, you just remove those scapes, and then the plant focuses its energy into the clove growth. So that is the plan for those whenever it happens. Some of these are soft neck, so they will not get the scapes. Once all of the greenery starts laying down and dying back, then we know it's time to go ahead and harvest. I'm expecting end of May, beginning of June for that. And then we'll get these harvested, and I have tons of sunflower seeds inside that I am excited to get planted in here. I have some new to me varieties, and then some varieties that I got in seed swaps, and of course some varieties that I grew last year. So I can't wait to see the sunflower patch all blooming and beautiful like it is every year, bringing me so much joy. That's what is coming. Whenever I amend all of those spaces with the compost, I'm also going to add compost to the garlic. They really love growing in compost and nutrient-rich soil, so I want to make sure that I pack that in as much as I can without, packing the soil down too hard. So filling up these grow bags with compost will really give these guys a nutrient boost outside of the fertilizer that I have been feeding them with. Over here in the flower bed, it's still messy. Surprise. Big surprise, right? It's still messy, but I did do a bit more cleanup. I came through and picked up any of the plastic plant labels that were left from previous plantings, and I planted petunias out here. There are 4 different colors of petunias that are planted. There's burgundy, the Valentine pink, the blue, which is actually purple, and then the prism sunshine, which is very pale yellow, kind of white. Planted all the way down. And then I also planted some more of the Sahara rudbeckia, which is this kind of fuzzy leafed plant right here. And then the snapdragons are starting to really put on a bit of height. I had hoped they would be blooming right now, but I think that February single digits kind of slowed them down a little bit. So we're keeping an eye on them. I'm gonna come through and amend these spaces, get some more compost in here. But overall, the soil in this is much more workable than it was last year when I planted. So what we're doing is helping a lot. I have the zinnias outside hardening off now. One tray should be just about ready to go. The other ones I just moved out today. So we'll give that tray a little bit of time, and then we can start transplanting zinnias into here, as well as coleus and celosia and some of the hollyhocks. What else do I have over there? We'll go over there and look in just a minute. I can't even remember everything that I've started. But that will really fill in this space. And then, of course, some of the perennial items will come back. Like we have the agastache here starting to put on some growth. A dandelion I need to come pull up. That is Henry Dulberg salvia. That is a Texas native, so it's almost impossible to kill. And then that's a hollyhock from last year, so hopefully it blooms this year. And then a couple more snapdragons. Not many made it through the winter compared to what I hoped for, but it's okay. live and learn. It'll get better. We're gonna get better at this gardening thing as time goes on. And this green stalk here, this one is currently planted out with a bush variety of, it's not a snow pea and it's not like a spring pea like the English pea. It's a snap pea. There we go. We'll get there. All right. So the top tier is this, I think it's a tum thumb, something like that, snap pea here, and it's a bush variety, so it's not gonna like vine up and go nuts. And then this next tier is Bloomsdale spinach, and then the rest of the remaining tiers are different varieties of lettuce. I think this might be Merlot here. I don't know if you guys can see the little sprouts there. And then we have some lettuce that has sprouted in this tier, and then this tier, and I thought I saw some on the bottom, but maybe not. But there's a few lettuce sprouts all the way around. There we go, there's some. And then we have lots of spinach that has germinated. Most of the peas have germinated, so that's really good. I was more focused on getting the spinach and the peas than I necessarily was the lettuce. I just kind of wanted to fill it up. But yeah, you can see we have a few varieties of lettuce here. This grow bag used to have rosemary in it. It will have lemon balm, and it's gonna go over here. It's gonna go here. So lemon balm is gonna go in that one. And then if I find another 5-gallon one, then I'll put mint in it. And this green stalk is going to get the rest of the medicinal, and I don't know, a whole pecan ended up in there. It must have come from a bird or something dropping it. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, but a whole pecan. That is not a pecan tree, so it's not from the tree. But anyway, literal saw a squirrel moment, except I didn't see a squirrel do this. This green stalk is going to be for tea and medicinal herbs. As you can see, it already has thyme in it. There's a couple of herbs that are growing in that raised bed that I need to transplant over into here, but there it will also have things like chamomile and hyssop, anise hyssop. I forget what all is germinated in there. We'll go take a look in a minute. But all of that's gonna go in here, and then whatever other culinary herbs that I don't have space for in the raised beds will also kind of finish out the pockets here. So it'll be nice and full of herbs, and it'll be fun to come out here and harvest them as I need them, and I'm really excited about that. This one, since I walked right past it, moving that grow bag, strawberries, and it's doing pretty good, y'all. Look, we have little strawberry blooms. There's a few. The whole thing isn't blooming out yet, but I was so excited to see those. The fact that I overwintered all these little plants is miraculous to me, because I was the laziest gardener ever over the winter. But we have quite a few pockets with strawberry plants in them, so that's really exciting. Hopefully we get a few strawberries off of there. Otherwise, it's at least pretty to look at. The lime tree is struggling a little bit. You can see all the leaves. We had horrific wind the other day. I mean, like insane winds. I was waiting in the school pickup line for the kids, and it was shifting the car. Like, it was crazy winds, and it kind of just wind blew all these leaves, and they just look a hot mess because of it. But I do see lots of new growth happening, so I think it's gonna leaf back out and be just fine. It was recently fertilized, recently watered, so it is alive. It's bendy. The plant's not like snapping completely in half. So as long as the wind calms down and quits freaking out, that'll bounce back fine. I'm not too horrifically worried about it. But now we can come look at all of these 17,000 seedlings we have going on. So I have them mostly up against the house for a few reasons. One, they get the early morning sun, so it's not the heat of the day. They get the earliest shade of the day, and they get a break from the wind from being up against the house. And these guys get a break from the wind because they're inside a clear tote. So if you are hardening off your seedlings to get ready to transplant, while you do want them to be exposed to wind, you don't want them necessarily exposed to the 75-mile-an-hour winds. So putting them up against something to kind of break some of the wind can be really helpful, especially if it's going to get like afternoon shade. Then your plants won't get too much sun stress while they're acclimating to being outdoors. But let's go ahead and take a look at these seedlings. Okay, so right off the bat, I see one that I'm going to point out to you guys because it's the reason why I debated not growing the plant to begin with. So we have this Rebel Starfighter Prime tomato. I just transplanted it the other day, but it, as you can see, it didn't survive the transplant. Everything else survived just fine, so I'm not going to necessarily blame the gardener. I had the same issue with the plants last year, and they just do not grow well for me. So that is the end of attempting to grow the Rebel Starfighter Prime tomatoes for me. Everything else, as you can see, all the other little transplants are doing really great. We have lots of marigolds here, and then we have the petunias here. These are the petunias that are left after I planted them in the front and back flower beds. And we have some tomato varieties left, and some tomatillos in the back there, nasturtiums, and then here's the butterfly pea flowers. So I have the lavender, and then the rest of these are blue. The transplanting those was a bit of an experiment, but knowing how quickly they germinated, it was an experiment I was willing to go ahead and perform, because they germinated so quick for me, and as you can see, they're growing pretty quickly as well. Once the trellis is built, they'll get transplanted onto it, and I may hold 2 of them back to climb up my light posts here on the patio. We'll talk about that. I think it might look kind of cool, so we'll see. That aloe I need to dig up. I didn't move it indoors during the winter, and you can see what happened. Did not survive, clearly. We have more marigolds here. A lot of these will go into my garden. Lily's Girl Scout troop is getting 10 of these Gypsy Sunshine ones, and then the Boy Scouts will get the remainder for their fundraiser. And then we have more tomatoes and more tomatoes. Most of these are going to Logan's Boy Scout fundraiser. Lily's Girl Scout troop is getting 10 of the micro dwarf Tom tomatoes. I'm getting micro dwarf and dwarf, and then 22 regular tomato plants. Logan's troop is getting the rest, but you can see all of these transplanted really well. So again, it's not the gardener for that Rebel Starfighter Prime. I think it's the variety itself. This tray of zinnias is the one that is ready to be transplanted, and it's definitely outgrown its little tiny little 6-packs here. So I will probably work on transplanting those on Sunday. That I don't want to do it. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, and it's supposed to rain a lot. So I'm trying to decide if I do it before the rain and risk a storm, or after the rain, and either way they're going to be outside. So I don't know, maybe I'll do them later and get them transplanted later today and just hope for the best. Obviously I have extras. So over here, these were just moved out today, so I can't transplant these just yet, but what is here is the remainder of the zinnias. We have the celosia here, some snapdragons, gomphrena, coleus, and then hollyhocks. Only one of the fiesta time, which is the hot pink hollyhocks, germinated, and then only one of the dark red hollyhocks germinated, everything else looks pretty good as far as germination goes, so those will just get spaced throughout the front and back flower beds. Same thing with the coleus, the 2 trays of coleus, the gomphrena, and the celosia. They will just get split between the front and back. And then the zinnias, most of them will go into the back. I think I might put some of the red ones in the front. I have like a deep red. Yeah, that might look really nice. Okay, I've decided. So yeah, some zinnias up front, most of them in the back. The light poles. So what I might do is hold back a couple of those butterfly pea flowers and plant them at the base of this and have it just climb up this. I think that might look cool. What I do have in here is petunias so far, and then these are little baby strawberry plants, so we'll see what those do. And then the same thing in this one. This one doesn't have any strawberry plants. It does have a chive that looks like it's trying to bounce back, but 4 petunias, 1 of each color. And then in the baskets is Prism Sunshine petunias in this one and that one. I'm hoping that my coleus I'll be able to put in here, one of the darker leafed varieties. Let's see. I know I'm going back and forth again, my apologies. So I have maybe the black dragon I can put in those 2. That might look pretty cool. I'll need to look to see if that one is shade or sun. If it's shade, it has to go in the front underneath the tree. But if it's sun, it can go right here on the patio. So I need to double check which ones are shade and which ones are sun. Otherwise, I'm thinking the black dragon will go into those hanging baskets with the Prism Sunshine petunias. And then, he's in his natural habitat again. And then I might put a purple variety of basil in here, simply because I know that that's going to grow throughout the summer, and it'll be like the dark purple will be a nice contrast against that white and green. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. And then this green stalk, I know we've talked about it last week and briefly mentioned it earlier. Most of this is going to be hot peppers that won't be planted in the raised beds. So the idea is to do an experiment against 2 of the exact same plant types to see which one produces more. I feel like the raised bed is obviously going to produce more because it has more room for the plants to grow and spread its roots and all of those things. But how much more is it going to produce out there? So say, I think the Serrano variety is Trapeo. So we can put a Trapeo here and a Trapeo there, and then measure the growth and the harvest and the output of each of the plants to determine if growing peppers in this will be worth it, or if I just need to change this over to be flowers, or I need to change it over to be micro dwarf and dwarf tomatoes. Just, kind of assess what grows best for me right now in this specific space. That one, I know we talked about it, has the cool weather crops in it. Once those come out, some bush beans are going to go in. Bush beans are also going to be interplanted throughout the raised beds. And then once the bush beans come out, cowpeas will go in here, and then the raised beds as well. So there's going to be a ton of food coming out of this garden this year, and I couldn't be more excited. Let's hope I can grow a freaking squash. Every year the squash vine borers and the squash bugs take the plants out before I can actually harvest a dang squash. So I'm hopeful this year, and I will go inside and I'll show you guys why. All right, we are now in the office where seedlings are growing and seeds are started, and There's a lot, it smells like soil in here, which is amazing. It really helps me not stress out during my work day, because this is my office where I work my job all day long. So what we have going on here, these are peppers that were transplanted, and then some of those micro dwarf tom tomatoes, and then more peppers and eggplants. And if you look at the eggplants compared to last week, they're so much healthier. They're really getting humongous. So we have one morning that's going to be 40. After that morning passes, all of these pepper trays are going out to be hardened off. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 trays of peppers, tomatillos, eggplants, and micro dwarf tomatoes. All of those will go out, get hardened off, get ready to be planted, which will open up the shelves for all of the trays of seeds that are working on being started. But back up here, this is an entire tray of basil. That's 72 cells of basil that have been started. Some of it will go to the Boy Scouts. Some of it will go to the Girl Scouts. This purple ball is going to the Girl Scouts. This Genovese is going to the Boy Scouts. The rest of it's going to be scattered throughout my garden and or go to the Boy Scouts, depending upon what I have room for. This whole tray is calendula. This does better in cooler weather, so I really started this tray way too late, but if you don't plant the seed, you're definitely not going to get a plant from it, so at least I'm trying here. So this is going to go outside as soon as all of these little seedlings get their true leaves, which looks like that one, if you can see. Let me see if I can get my phone back in there or pull the tray out. So you can see the leaves are kind of a little bit fuzzy. Once all of them have their true leaves, which is this newer set here, then I'll get these outside, get them hardened off, get them transplanted into their growing spaces. Flower beds and raised beds is where these are going. Down here, we have a tray of culinary herbs. So we have everything from chives back there, cilantro, we have dill here, Greek oregano, peppermint, some parsley, wild thyme, which definitely lives up to its name. It grows incredibly wild. Chervil, hyssop, and rue. Rue I'm growing specifically for the swallowtail butterflies. They are a host plant for them, so that's going in the garden for those guys to help attract in pollinators. Oh, little peppermint babies. I don't know if you can see them, but that's going in a grow bag. Don't worry, I'm not gonna let peppermint grow wild. And then the hyssop is for pollinators, I think. I need to look back at my notes. Yes, hyssop is for pollinators. Everything else is like culinary herbs. Rue is a host plant. So everything that I'm planting is with a purpose and with intention, for either beauty, food, or to feed other things. Then these 4 that I started yesterday, these are all going to be culinary herbs that are gonna go to the Boy Scouts for their seedling sale. So we have cilantro, dill, parsley, and thyme. Obviously those will be up-potted into larger containers, but that's the purpose of those. This whole tray, I believe, is for the Boy Scouts. This tray is mine. This tray is mine, and this tray is for the Boy Scouts. So, yeah, they're getting a lot. This tray has a few different things. Let me find that. Okay, so these 4 smaller ones are these Persian carpet zinnias. These are kind of like a dwarf variety. They only get 15 inches tall. So I thought that they would make a cute like border plant. So these will go in the front and back flower beds whatever's left will go to the Boy Scouts. I think zinnias will sell really well for them. And then these are hopefully my insurance to harvest some squash and cucumbers before various pests take the plants out. So we have cucumbers in here. We have cucumbers and melons in here. I don't eat melon, but my kids do, so they'll get some melon. And then we have squash in these 4 different types. So hopefully starting them indoors and then transplanting them out gives me time for those plants to grow some actual fruits, because yeah, I don't know how else to battle the squash vine borers beyond that, because I don't have the space to continuously succession sow different squash plants around the yard. These are the medicinal herbs that I cold stratified, and as you can see, germination is happening. I can probably move them under the grow lights at this point. The lavender hasn't germinated yet. I'm aware lavender is a bit tricky. I do have a plant in one of the raised beds that I'm going to transplant into the green stalk. So if these don't germinate, it's okay. I have a backup. And then we have yarrow, anise hyssop, marshmallow, catnip, broadleaf plantain, Mondavian dragon balm, lemon bee balm, spotted bee balm, and then chamomile, lemon balm there. I think that's everything that's germinated, unless it has little tiny sprouts that I can't see yet, like the peppermint did. These 3 are perennial flowers that I cold stratified. So we have echinacea, gaillardia, and milkweed, different varieties in each 12-pack. Once they germinate, then I'll put them under the grow lights or directly outside. We'll see where we're at on time. I do want to get these in the ground before it gets too awfully hot. Again, I waited a little bit long to start these. I was behind on a lot of my garden stuff this year, so we'll just have to see what happens with those. But that is at least the indoor seedling update. All right, but that is it for this week's weekly update. As you can see, not much has changed. While a lot has changed, there's been a lot of uppotting that has gone on in the last week, as well as hardening off, more seed starting, all of that stuff, which you just saw. But if you liked today's video and you want to see how the garden continues to grow and change from week to week, please like and subscribe and comment and do all those different YouTube things. Otherwise, until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye!